Welcome to Ground Up Growth, where we share entrepreneurial insights, business strategies, and personal growth lessons to help listeners build success from the ground up.
Welcome back to Ground Up Growth. Today we are continuing our conversation with Miss Leigh Bailey with Salad Days. Salad Days is a hydroponic lettuce growing operation in Flora, Mississippi. Thank you, Miss Leigh, for giving us some insight on we're fixing to learn so much about lettuce.
Yeah.
We're fixing to get in the weeds or lack thereof because we're hydroponic.
Maybe more than you want to know. So if I start going down into too much detail, you can reel me back in. But
So
in the last episode, you did such a good job of getting us up to speed from real estate to dabbling in some different things like after in the plant space and more time in real estate, and then getting to this point to where you are now and all the research that was involved in this. But we haven't really talked about what hydroponic agriculture or controlled environment agriculture really is and what that looks like for you in your facility. And so I think where we left off with the last episode was you leased the land. So what year was that? And then kind of talk us through what it looked like to get the facility up and running and the research that went into that, like how you do all this.
It's mind-boggling. And, we thought we knew enough to pull the trigger and go forward and get a bank loan and buy the equipment and build it. That all was in 2012 is when we started we got the loan, started the site work, built the facility, and finished that in 2013. And that was kind of towards the end of 2013. And so our first crops came out of that original greenhouse, the 18,000 square foot greenhouse, in spring of 2014. And that, as we got along the way and got into actually growing, I think looking back, we would have said, we knew what we were doing until you really started doing it. And then you go, wait, maybe we did. If we had known how much we didn't know, we may have never done it, because it was just, it was just coming at you left and right. And what about this problem? What about that problem? And there is no manual or handbook or course that they can teach you how to grow plants hydroponically. And I'll pause on that and say hydroponics is growing without soil. So it is water only that you add nutrients to. So you're taking your source water, which we use the municipal water in Flora, so it's a safe, tested, clean water source. We test that basic water of what's coming from their well. So we know exactly what the makeup of all the nutrients and elements that are in that. Mm-hmm. And then we have a custom recipe for the fertilizers that we add back in. So, based on the amount of potassium and calcium and nitrogen and sodium, all the things that are in water naturally, that varies greatly from well to well to well all over the place. So you have to build it based on what you're starting with.
And does that stay consistent? Like the water coming from the well, in general, does that?
In general, it will fluctuate somewhat, and it depends on, like Flora has a couple of wells, and if they change wells, it changes a little bit. We're constantly testing water and making sure that...
Do you have to do any type of additional filtering?
We don't filter. If we had our own well that we dug, we would definitely have to do the sand filters and all that stuff. It's a safe, clean, already filtered, tested water, and that's it's a safety thing for us. A lot of people do use their own well, but then the onus is on you to keep that tested and I'm talking about testing not just for what's in the water nutritionally, but what's bad in the water, pathogens and that kind of thing. So we know Flora is going to catch that if that's going on. So
so you mentioned we're going to start with a 2-crop, tomato and lettuce. Are you strictly doing lettuce now?
We are strictly lettuce now. The tomatoes the product was great. People loved them. We sold them like crazy. We sold every one we grew. the labor to do the tomatoes in the design of the house, the greenhouse that we had, was just not, it didn't make sense. You need a much taller roof. Tomatoes, we were keeping tomato plants for 9 to 10 months. So you've never seen a tomato. You're used to a backyard tomato that you're lucky if you get 60 days out of it, and it's 6 feet tall, and then you just cut it down and plant another one. We're keeping these plants, they become 35 to 40 feet long because we're keeping them so long.
Goodness.
And so you're having to lean them down and lower them and let them, like the vine, go along the floor. And then the only part that produces is the top 6 feet of the plant. So we had one employee that 6 days a week, all he did was lean and lower tomato plants. It's the only thing he did.
Wow.
And so the amount of labor that you got to put back into that job is crazy. So we had a lot of people crying, including ourselves, when there were no more tomatoes. And we had to just decide on the last crop. I think we did them for 5 years. And on the last crop was our best crop. We picked 56,000 pounds out of that greenhouse, out of half of that greenhouse. It was 2,000 tomato plants. And we sold every single one of them. And we just had enough money left over to plant the next crop. And I said, that's officially a hobby. That is not a business. We are not doing that anymore.
Goodness.
And the lettuce it's a quicker turnaround. If you get any kind of a disease going on in your lettuce, you're talking about a 45-day turn from a seed to a harvestable head of lettuce. So if you have a problem, you're only 45 days away from trashing it and starting over if you had to, which we've never really had anything like that happen, but it's just more forgiving. We had so much demand for the lettuce, we never could keep up. The supply was never meeting the demand. So we said, why are we fighting this? Let's just turn the whole thing, the tomato part of the greenhouse, let's just turn it all into lettuce and do that, which leads me to a very interesting part of our career. That we went and borrowed a little bit more money to take out all the tomato. It's a totally different irrigation system, totally different setup, the way you grow it, because it's a vine crop in a bucket, basically, and these and the lettuce is in channels, like they look like rain gutters on your house, kind of. They're like these long channels. So we went and borrowed a little bit of more money and refitted that half of the greenhouse to do lettuce. And the very first double amount of lettuce we had was due to be harvested. We'll see if this rings a bell with you on the date. March the 3rd of 2020.
COVID.
So here we are about to have double production and all of our restaurants shut down. And that was we were about 85% restaurant business and about 15% retail at that point. And when that happened, we said, this is only going to last a couple of weeks. I mean, we can just donate lettuce to the food banks for a couple of weeks and it'll be all right. This is going to all settle out. This can't go on very long. And that, as we all know, was not the case. And so after the first week or two of that, we said, well, what are we going to do? You know, this ain't going to work. And so I said, we got to pivot here. We either got to shut it down or we got to do a major pivot, and we've got to go direct to consumer. And everything we were doing was to distributors and grocery stores, and and so I said, well, how are we going to do this? I mean, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of heads of lettuce. You can't onesie-two these things out. I mean, so I had a girl that was working for us that real computer savvy, and we had a little website set up already, and I said, how are we going to market this? What are we going to do? And she said, well, your website, you have the ability to have a commerce page on here. You can order stuff, and so we sat down and we figured out how we're going to have this online farmers market. And so our neighboring farm, Two Dog Farms, was in the same boat as us. all the restaurants around in town, in Flora and Jackson, were in the same boat as us. Some of them were trying to stay open and do like to-go orders and, that kind of thing. And so I said, well, let's just make this like the gourmet online farmers market. And we'll get Railroad Pizza to make all the salad dressings, and we'll get Bless This Food to bake all the breads, and we'll get so-and-so to do this and that and this and that. And then we ended up, we posted the first week, and it just went crazy. I mean, it just...
Really?
2020 was our biggest revenue year ever.
Wow.
Wow.
Wait a minute.
And you went into it at 85%.
Restaurant.
That's
It
impressive.
about killed us because we were having to, like, every week we would have new products coming on. We ended up pulling from a farmer in Louisiana during strawberry season, and then like garden centers were hearing about us, and they were calling us saying, "Can we sell you like these herb pots? Anything." And then it morphed into, well, what about Easter lilies? And we've got, because all the the nurseries, people weren't coming out to buy all that stuff, and they had all their summer stuff already booked and grown, and so we just started putting everything that you could eat or plant or vegetable start plants or it was, you name it, we had it on there. I mean, it wasn't like clothes and anything like that, but
How did it work? Did they shop from your website?
They shop from my website, and I would spend the prior week lining up what we were going to put on there, and we had to kind of, like, we wanted to keep it interesting and different, and I mean, it was always going to have lettuce on there, I promise you that.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you have to buy lettuce to even get onto the site. But we, like, I would get Aplos to do, we'd do a Greek-themed salad package this week where you'd get 2 cucumbers and some cherry tomatoes and their feta dressing and our lettuce, and we would package it up as this week's salad box is this, and next week is a hamburger.
So did they have to
box.
come to you to get it, or did
They
y'all-
came to us. It got to be so wild that we opened the ordering at 3:00 on Monday. 3:00 on Monday, and by 6 to 7 p.m. on the same day, we were sold out.
No way.
And so people were setting their clocks with alarms to try to get on there and pony up to get in the line before all the good stuff sold out. And we were doing, I think we were doing $40,000 or $50,000 in 3 hours.
No.
And we would have to cut
fires
it
me
off
up
because we couldn't manage anymore. So now that you know what you've sold in that first day that you've put it out there, now you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to get it all in from all these places you're aggregating from, get it all weighed, bagged, packaged up, ready to do contactless pickup on Saturday. So
How many people do you have working for you at this point?
about probably 8 to 10. So the first Saturday was absolutely nuts, and the Flora police were out there directing traffic. We had 250 cars trying to come up this one-lane road up into our farm, and they were backed out onto First Street all the way both directions. It was like, and the police called us, that next day and said, "We got to come up with another plan. We can't do this every Saturday morning." So we started doing a Friday afternoon and a Saturday pickup so we could spread it out a little bit. And we were just apologizing to people left and right because they would have to wait in the line for 30 minutes to even drive up the driveway.
Yeah.
And when they get up there, we were saying, we're so sorry. And they were saying, what else do we have to do? We've got our dogs in the car.
So true.
We love getting out of the house. It's beautiful. We're just hanging out. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Supporting
And
local. Yeah.
so we brought a lot of notice to our farm, as well as helped a lot of other people sell stuff that they weren't being able to sell. And it was a bear to organize every week. I mean, you can imagine just,
Right.
and getting it all in and pricing and margins and, because it wasn't the same every week. And
But
so,
that probably helped springboard y'all coming out of COVID. Like you're saying, it propped your brand up.
yeah,
That's huge. The ability to pivot at that point.
Well,
and
having
come
the
up with that.
employee with the
knowledge to do it.
knowledge, the technology
Yeah.
side of,
We had some friends that were just out of work during COVID, and they said, "We want to come help. We want to come help." And we would put them with walkie-talkies down the driveway, and they would be calling up saying, "I've got the Jones family. It's order number 17," and so we could start pulling that order before they were even up to us, and then they would just
Chick-fil-A.
I was sitting here thinking Chick-fil-A. Like,
yeah, exactly like that. Exactly like
that's
that.
awesome.
But it saved us, and it was a difficult transition when we decided we had to go back to the old model because, all the people that were doing that hated to see it go away. But the sales started dwindling as things
Yeah.
started opening
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah,
But
for
I
sure.
mean, we rode it.
That's an
year.
incredible pivot. It sounds like it saved the company.
It did. It did. And not one single employee got COVID. Because working in the greenhouse, it's nothing but air moving, fans running, fresh air coming in. So we had not a single case of COVID, and nobody lost their job. And so it was, everybody that worked there was very happy.
That's
awesome.
an incredible, man, that's incredible. Just such a curveball and being able to just leapfrog it and come out for the better. I mean, that's awesome. So, how much lettuce can you make? Like in one day, how much, or how many pounds? How many heads? What's
It's
the-
6,000 heads a day is what we're harvesting
huh?
right now.
Word. How long does it take?
6,000.
Yeah.
How long
Pick up
in your
6,000?
current facility?
That's the new facility?
That's the new facility.
So tell us a little bit about the new
So-
facility. Give
Yeah.
us the footprint.
So to compare, the old one was 18,000 square feet. We were doing about 250,000 heads a year out of that facility. This one is 65,000 square feet. Some of the 65,000 is office and cooler and packing room and all that. The growing floor is about 45,000, so it's just a little over an acre. So
I gotta ask, do you have rabbits that like try to get in there?
they can't. They would. We actually give
If I was a
our
rabbit, I'd be living.
Our lettuce scraps, we have some rabbit farmers that come pick them up and feed them to their rabbits, yeah.
Nice.
We have some goats and pig farmers and people that come want the trash after we harvest,
Yeah.
just, leaves. And, but, so our new facility is 65,000 square feet. We're picking 3 million heads a year as
Holy
opposed to
cow.
250.
3 million heads of lettuce. What's the farthest you've sent lettuce? distance-wise?
Our model is no more than a 250-mile radius. We really like 200 miles is kind of our best, but 250.
So do you have delivery trucks that deliver that, or is that like subbed out to a?
Mostly subbed out. We do have one small refrigerated box truck that we do some local deliveries, and those are the ones that are like right there in Flora. And then there's a few grocers that don't have a distributor in this area, so we do take like Sullivan's and Gluckstadt and Flora, and we used to do the corner markets in Jackson, but we've now gone through a distributor that's delivering for those now. But we're right now we're in that startup time with getting set up with some of the big distributors, PFGs and Cisco's, and I mean we've sold to some of those already in the past, but we just didn't have enough volume to keep them happy. And so we kept saying, just hold on, we're going to be in this new facility. So now we're in, and now it's that we went from never having enough and always having to short people on orders to now we got too much. But it's going to catch up. It's just, it takes a
Right.
minute to get these big guys, the Walmarts and the Krogers and we're talking to all of them right now.
Wow.
So there's a lot of hooks in the water, and we're just
Well, I mean, I know you'll adapt and overcome because that's what you did on your first pivot. But I mean, because you had an excess supply when you went into COVID, and you
Right.
found a way to make it work.
We're going to work it out. We
That's,
always do.
3 million heads of lettuce.
My mind is blown. And also just the jump from like, what's staff look like from you could do 250 a year to 3 million?
We're sitting at 18 employees now, probably need 20, may need even more than that when we're not in full production right now until some of these bigger customers commit. We've got some empty space in there that like I said, we're 45 days from a seed to a harvestable product. So it doesn't take long to get you where you need to be.
Yeah, you get the purchase order or whatever, and you can get to planting.
These big buyers, like in these conversations, I mean, what's your selling point? Why do they pick you over? And do you have a lot of competitors like in the radius that you're even targeting?
There are a lot of big lettuce growers, indoor lettuce growers, like what we're doing. A lot bigger than us. But they're all concentrated around the big metro areas. Like there's a bunch of them around Atlanta, a bunch of them around Dallas, around DC and Orlando, and but Mississippi, it's one of the everybody always talks about Mississippi's last and not the most progressive, and but for something like this, we've been sort of overlooked. It's like people in Mississippi do eat lettuce too.
Right.
We have proven that.
Exactly.
So all we want is Mississippi, and we would like to be into. We do have a pretty big presence in New Orleans already, and New Orleans being the culinary town that it is,
for sure,
that's a great market for us. But we want to do Mobile, New Orleans. We're already pretty good on the Gulf Coast, Memphis, Birmingham. That's all we're asking for. We're not trying to get into Atlanta or Dallas. Now, will it maybe end up there anyway? I don't know. I mean, that's hard to predict. But
tell us a little bit about you mentioned this before the podcast about how traditionally lettuce may come from California and it sits on a truck for a week and then it sits on the shelf for a week. Talk about, you mentioned leaving the root intact and how the longevity or shelf life of the lettuce, your operation versus California or wherever.
The biggest head start we have is that very likely you're getting a distributor's getting lettuce that was packed within the last 24 to 48 hours. So they've already got a huge jump on what is coming out of California just because of the distance. And then furthermore, we sell it as a living head of lettuce. So we pack, whether it's for food service, which is a bulk pack, or whether it's for retail, which is a clamshell, which like what I brought y'all today, we leave a little bit of that root on there, and that is a living head of lettuce. We even have people tell us that they cut the lettuce off and eat it and then plant that root in a pot and it grows back. That really doesn't threaten us too much because I don't think they're going to get enough out of it to but I mean, great. If they can grow another head of lettuce, good for them. That's neat. But
so if I go in Kroger and I go buy a bag salad mix and the lettuce is dark as this table, what's the history on that?
Let's just for a minute say you can find a bag salad that doesn't look bad. Let's just say you pick out you dig to the back,
right,
and get the newest one that's at the very back, and it looks pretty good, and you take it home. You open that bag up, and what you've just done is let out all the nitrogen gas that they pumped into that bag to keep the decomposition from happening. So you better eat it all right then, because if you eat half of it and roll it back up and put it back in the refrigerator, tomorrow that's going to be brown and slimy. Because when they take that head in California, they cut it, and then they chop up the whole thing into cut lettuce.
Right.
They've just killed the lettuce, and now it's trying to decompose. So that nitrogen preserves it long enough to get to that grocery store shelf, and that customer lets that gas out, and that's why it has no shelf life.
That makes sense.
So we've got a living head. You can break off part of it, use it, put it back in the refrigerator. you want it sealed up, and you don't want a lot of air to get to it because it wilts if it gets air. But literally, you could go to Sullivan's and you could go to Freshway Produce on Old Canton Road right now, and you'd be buying lettuce that was possibly picked this morning or yesterday.
Really? Mm-hmm. That quick? Wow.
Yep.
That is awesome. That's I'm just mind blown.
And we're just so passionate about Mississippi being able to feed itself. Agriculture is the biggest industry in Mississippi, but you can't eat most of what's grown here. We are the most obese state in the nation. We have the most food deserts of anywhere. And that's insane. We've got room to grow it. We've got farmers. We've got
climate.
Water. We've got climate. We've got all those things. So I think we'll see a lot more of this. And there's a lot of different types of produce you can grow indoors. We did the tomatoes and cucumbers for a while, and those do great hydroponically. Strawberries are a huge business indoors. Now they've come out with a blueberry that does indoors. I hadn't really researched that one very much yet, but bell peppers, all those beautiful yellow and red bell peppers you see in the groceries that are blemish free and perfect, those are all indoor grown. And probably some of those are coming out of Canada, but there are a lot of U.S. companies doing the peppers. So it's a perfect, unweather blemished, unpest blemished, no pesticides put on it, because it's got a roof over its head. And it's grown energy efficiently, sustainably. Guess what our water bill is in Flora, Mississippi for a 65,000 square foot facility.
Goodness. $1,000 a month.
I just paid $66, but that includes sewer too. So it's like $40 a month.
Really?
Because we're recirculating that water, it goes. We put the fertilizer in it. It goes all the way through all the channels, feeds all the lettuce, and it comes back into the batch tank. The computer analyzes, reads what the plants took out of it, and now it rebatches in small doses back in the fertilizer that it needs to be back to its regular recipe, and it goes back out again.
That's super intense.
Oh, wow.
Now,
what does fertilizer cost? Are they affecting you pretty good?
Oh,
bit?
yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
gotta be.
We had a pretty good bid on hand when we got into this new facility, but we're shaking in our boots about the next
It's
order.
what, doubled?
Probably.
Golly.
Probably. It's Israel is where a lot of it's coming from, and it's not a good. That's affecting everybody.
Pivot number 3.
Here we go.
Always something, isn't it?
It is.
But not having the curveballs of outdoor growing with the storms and
Droughts and yeah.
So taking a little bit of the guesswork out is but you're not foreign to volatility. You're got the real estate blood in you. You've seen some volatility.
Seen some volatility. One good thing also about our product is we know what our inputs are. Now, of course, with this fertilizer situation, and that's going to change a little bit. And some of our packaging has been increasing. But we sell our product at the same price year round. We've only ever had like 2 price increases in 13 years. And so even though our product may be a few dollars higher than commodity produce that's coming out of California, the commodity produce is crazy. You'll pay $28 for this case of cut lettuce from California now, and next month it might be $75. And so people sometimes say, well, yours is a little more expensive. And I said, yeah, but it's the same all year, and you can budget, and you're not throwing it away from spoilage. Yeah. So if you do the real math, it really isn't more expensive, and it's tastier, and people like it better. And if you'll notice my shirt,
lettuce snob.
This is a term, lettuce snob, that was coined by our customers that have gotten to be, they named themselves lettuce snobs. And they said, if we go to a restaurant, we don't see salad days on the menu, we ask them and say, are you serving salad days? And they say, no. Or sometimes worse, they'll say yes and they're not. But they say, well, then we don't want a salad.
Yeah.
We'll go somewhere else. And so we said, well, we're gonna capitalize on that lettuce snob thing. And
That's so great.
yeah.
Also, just listening to your customers and then coining what they're already
And if they
saying.
ask their grocery store to carry it, or if they ask their
Yeah.
restaurant for it, that
Yeah.
goes a long way. So
100%.
yeah.
That's awesome.
It's at Martin's.
Yes.
Right.
Martin's has been great.
And I get salads from Martin's anytime we order from there just because of the lettuce.
Have you had the wedge, the bib wedge?
No, I haven't.
We
I always
love
get, like,
seeing
the plug.
people get away from the iceberg wedge that has absolutely no nutritional
Right.
value and no taste and no. They're doing a bib wedge with ours.
Really?
And it's so good.
Oh, I bet it's so
real
good.
crunchy in the middle and buttery on the outside. and
Love a wedge.
Try
Bib
that one.
wedge. I might have to try this.
So I think after people listen to this, if they haven't already tried your lettuce, they're going to want to.
Well, I hope so. We would
Where
appreciate
can they
it.
find it?
We have a store finder on our website, saladdaysproduce.com, and you can put your zip code in, and it'll show you the retail locations that it's available. We are in the process of updating our website for the new facility. It's still the old facility shown on there, and we've branched out into a few more retail locations that aren't on there right this minute, but we're working on that right now. In fact, I'm leaving in the morning going down to Natchez. We've just gotten some Natchez grocery stores, and I'm going down to do a tasting demo in one of the stores tomorrow just to introduce it into that market. And we've got some in Mobile and Foley and Mobile and Theodore, Alabama. So we're getting a little out of Mississippi on those, which is great, and looking forward to more of that.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You've built an incredible business, and you've got an incredible story.
Well, thank you.
We really appreciate you coming on today and sharing that with us. And I know what I'm going to be eating for lunch now. So.
Salad for days.
Thank you, Miss
I love
Leigh,
it.
so much.
Thank y'all for
Yeah,
having me.
appreciate
It was a
you.
pleasure. That time went by really fast.
It was a good time. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.